benefits of fasting. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Bibi, and we are meeting every week with amazing functional content that we have created with the Global HR Summit team. So today we will be talking about fasting, since it's the time of the fasting. It's Ramadan, but at the same time, there are so many fasting modalities, from intermittent fasting to fasting mimicking diet. So let's dig down and talk a little bit of the benefits of fasting. So let's start. So, fast health benefits. Fasting really brings fast health benefits. Actually, fasting is calorie restriction without malnutrition. Hopefully, without malnutrition. It depends on how you break the fast. We'll be talking about that. But it's also a treatment method in ancient medicine. Back in the days, the health professionals were using fasting for a treatment method in a lot of conditions. In actually 1600s, they were prescribing a zero-calorie diet as cure for any blood sugar issues and associated diseases, morbid obesity, and all those heart conditions as well. So if you look at fasting, there are a couple ways to fast. There's a short-term fasting, which could be intermittent fasting. There could be prolonged fasting, and there could be fasting mimicking diets. And intermittent fasting is actually the very fasting that we do in Ramadan, or in a lot of cultures, in a lot of religions. There are a variety of fasts, and these are all called intermittent fasting because it's a time-restricted feeding to bring the benefits, health benefits, and emotional benefits, plus the spiritual benefits to the body. So in intermittent fasting, it could be alternate day fasting, it could be time-restricted fasting, or whole day fasting, or modified fasting methods. In the fasting mimicking diet, it is low-calorie, plant-based with sufficient micronutrients. It is done 5 days within a month. So it's a short period of time where you get low calories. And this whole talk could be the only time that I will be talking about the calories. If you have been watching my videos, you know that I don't like to talk about calories much, but fasting really impacts the health because of the calorie restriction. In the fasting benefits, the main benefit we see is the weight loss, then managing blood sugar and healthy lipids, healthy cholesterol levels. Indeed, body reprograms itself when you're fasting. It does something incredible that is called autophagy. And autophagy is basically eating up the cells that is not serving the body, like cancer cells, autoimmune cells, and it lowers inflammation as well. If you go to PubMed or Google Scholar, and if you type down fasting, you would see that there's 80,000 publications since 2020. So within 4 years' time, these are all the articles that mention fasting. So what happens to body in fasting? Actually, 5 systems are directly benefiting from fasting. Those 5 systems are, you can see, cardiovascular system, there's digestive system, and animal studies actually show fasting can stop diabetes by decreasing glucose tolerance and increasing pancreatic cell function. It also helps with reproductive health, reduces oxidative stress and inflammation, and total cholesterol as well. It's an actually anti-cancer help for the body, and fasting is also powerful for increasing cognitive health. So if you want to support your memories or your mental health, you definitely can get those benefits from fasting. It helps with the lipid levels, as I mentioned, and also with your gut and gut microbiome. So when it comes to fasting in Ramadan, there is a lot of research on that as well. And now we know that fasting in Ramadan improves weight and lipid levels, cholesterol levels. It doesn't necessarily impact the kidney health. And indeed, some of the research shows that even the kidney transplant patients can safely do the fasting under the control of a doctor, of course. It's a very important footnote here that I should be noting down. You should always be talking with your doctor and getting clearance from your doctor if you're doing any changes to your diet or fasting. Even though the research shows that, kidney problems, people with kidney problems or kidney transplant can safely do the fasting, it doesn't mean that you can get the green light without talking with your doctor. One area that should be carefully monitored is diabetes. If you have diabetes, the risk for hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia is very real, and these are both life-threatening conditions. Hypoglycemia, where the blood sugar goes down to too low, could be very dangerous. So is hyperglycemia, where the blood sugar goes too high. Again, if you are on insulin, you need to make sure that your insulin levels are monitored, and insulin levels are also adjusted based on your fasting and breaking the fast times and your foods as well. Also, research shows that prepping yourself for fasting is the best method to get the most benefits of the fasting. Maybe you can do an intermittent fasting. Maybe you can restrict your eating levels. Maybe you can change your diet before the fasting. And emotionally, fasting has a lot of benefits, especially if it is done for religious reasons. It has a lot of spiritual benefits. If you feel and if you tie in those benefits to your physiological fasting. Indeed, we see that the research shows that people who feel those emotional connection and spiritual connection have less depression, less irritability in the first few days of fasting and for the duration of fasting as well, if they're feeling truly connected to their purpose. Fasting also brings a level of self-control. So controlling the physiological and spiritual and the emotional aspects brings additional benefits on top of the physical benefits. How you get those benefits during the fasting period also is related to how you break the fast. So you get all those weight loss and lipid management benefits, lowered lipids, controlled blood sugar levels when you're fasting. But when you're breaking the fast, you need to make sure that you are not bombarding your body with all the sugar. So no refined carbs, but fiber, protein, and fats. Of course, if you're digesting them well, fiber is your friend always. And if you're taking the refined carbs like pasta, breads, that could be sending a lot of sugar on a fasted body. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we are slowly introducing the foods and slowly introducing the fiber-rich, protein-rich, and fat-rich foods into our bodies. If you do not have a gallbladder, or if you have gallbladder issues, gallbladder stones or sludge in the gallbladder, please go slow on the fats. So you shouldn't be introducing fatty meals or like fat at once, but in a slow fashion, maybe eating slowly or having multiple meals within a couple hours could work for you better, or you can take a bile supplement as well. When you're breaking the fast, make sure to add those foods. The first one is the fermented foods. Any fermented foods, it could be the pickles, sauerkraut, kimchi, pickled cabbages. Make sure to add them because they increase your stomach acid levels, so you can break those foods better, especially those proteins better. Again, if you do not have fermented foods, or if you want to further help with the stomach acid, you can add in vinegar. Apple cider vinegar, any kind of vinegar can help to increase the stomach acid. You can put it in your salad dressing, or you can put a little bit of water, and you can add 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I prefer apple cider vinegar to your water. I usually do not recommend drinking a lot of water with your foods, not to dilute the stomach acid, but a little bit of water with vinegar can help to increase the stomach acid. Again, we want to increase our bile. Why? Because bile is the detergent that dissolves the fats, so the fats can be absorbed better in the body. Dark leafy greens would be super helpful to increase your bile levels. You can try arugula, watercress, and any dark leafy greens, actually kale, any dark leafy greens would be helpful to increase the bile, especially the bitter ones, like the mustard greens can be used as well. What else? Foods like pineapple, papaya, to increase the enzymes, digestive enzymes. These fruits have naturally occurring digestive enzymes. So if you're eating them, especially with your protein-heavy meals, you would be helping your body to digest those proteins much better. There's a reason, actually, like, in the Korean foods have a lot of papaya afterwards. Korean food is like, very heavy with meats, with animal proteins, and the papaya eaten afterwards definitely helps with the break down those proteins and digest them better. Again, you can use digestive bitters or digestive enzymes as a support if it's needed. Always work with a professional, with a nutritionist, if you want to do that, to understand what type of enzyme you should be using or what type of enzyme you should not be using, because they are indicated in some cases and they're contraindicated in some cases. Another tip that you can do is you can eat slow. You can chew well, so you can help your stomach to digest those foods better. And you can savor the connections together with the foods, especially when you are fasting in Ramadan. It's not only about the fast, it's about the connection and the spiritual level and the community as well. So if you savor all those aspects of the fasting, your body would get the most benefits. Because as I always say, it's not only about your physical systems, it's about your emotional health, your spiritual health, energy. These are all the factors that impacts us in physical level as well. If you have medical conditions, always work with your doctor, so those conditions could be better managed. And when it comes to intermittent fasting is where you eat on a limited time of the day or limited days in a week. Most of the intermittent fasting is you fast for 16 hours and eat for 8 hours, or you fast for 18 hours, eat for 6 hours. Some people even do 20 to 4, and the eating window is limited to 4 hours a day. The important thing here is if you're doing it on a regular basis, you need to make sure that you are getting enough macronutrients and micronutrients in your body, because if you're eating on a 4-hour window, for example, and if you have gallbladder issues, you cannot overdo the fats. You have to split the fats into multiple meals, and that may not work for you if you do not have a gallbladder or if you have gallbladder issues. So you need to make sure that if you're using the intermittent fasting, that intermittent fasting and eating windows work for your health and for your lifestyle and for your wellness goals. It is a great alternative to calorie restriction diets. So instead of restricting the calories for weight loss, you're limiting the time that you can eat. So naturally, it gives you less time to eat and less calories that you can put into the body within a day. And then you can also do the fasting, as I said, within a week. So you can do the fasting for 2 days a week, and then you don't fast for 5 days a week, and you get a similar benefit as well. Actually, time restricted feeding part is what we do, what the fasting in Ramadan is, because it's a limited time eating, and then you fast all throughout the day. So in the fasting and in intermittent fasting as well, body switches the fuel source from sugars to fats. Normally, body's main fuel source is the sugars because they burn really well. It gives you the fast energy, great for the muscles, great for the brain. However, they burn fast. So when you have that energy, even though you supply an energy immediately, this energy is not lasting for a long time. But when you're burning the fats, you give your body more longer time to use that energy. That is why you don't actually get hungry for 16 or even 20 hours within a day, or sometimes as long as like the full day or couple days as well. We'll talk about that as well. So it is great for weight loss, reduces fasting insulin, improves diabetes condition, also like heart and cardiovascular conditions as well, and it definitely improves the energy. In the beginning, if you're new to intermittent fasting, the first couple days could be tricky as your body gets used to it. As I said, give your body plenty of time to get used to it, especially if you have low blood sugar issues. You want to make sure that you are not feeling bad, or you're not getting into a hangry state, or like you don't get dizzy on when you're fasting. If that is the case, it's an indication that you should be fasting that long right now, or you should be eating appropriate foods before you start your fasting, like the previous nights or before whenever you're starting the fasting. It's also intermittent fasting is great for weight loss. In women, it is the most beneficial to do the fasting interval earlier, later in the day, but eating your last meal around 4 to 5 p.m. and having the fasting overnight until the morning. A lot of people do it more eating late in the evening and then fasting till the noontime, since it's more convenient, so they can get together and eat with the family, with the friends, so it doesn't impact their social setting. But if you want to get the most weight loss and health benefits, especially for the woman, I really recommend eating around 4 or 5 p.m. the latest, or maybe in the summertime it could be 6 p.m. And not eating anything overnight, and then 16 hours of fasting after that. There's also 3+ day fasts. They're usually called water fasts. There's not much consensus on that. Some experts really warn against those water fasts. Some experts promote those water fasts. As always, it's a very personalized decision, and it needs to be done definitely with a practitioner, with an expert. You need to get clearance from your doctor, and then those fasts need to be designed with a professional nutritionist. 3+ day fast. Some people do it like 1 day, 2 day. Usually the benefits start to be seen after the 3 days. The water fast, in the water, a lot of people do mineral water, and this is the correct way to do, because you need to be getting the correct ratio of minerals in the body for the optimal kidney function and the optimal cellular functions. But some people may need to do it with the broths, with the added oils. So sometimes it's the no solid food diet, but you can have the liquids like soups. Sometimes it is only the clear drinks and the clear things like the broth, chicken broth, beef broth, and as I said, oils, tea. In some cases, coffee could be allowed. I usually do not recommend coffee or caffeine containing products in such diets, but more herbal teas and more water. The benefits start to be seen after 3 days, but after 7 days, research shows amazing benefits in such fasts, especially if you have autoimmune conditions or cancer. In autoimmune conditions, actually body reprograms itself and balances the immune responses. It clears out those autoimmune cells. In the cancer, it can clear out those cancer cells and programs cell death and cell clearing. It's also helpful for metabolic diseases or metabolic syndrome, diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular issues. It helps to lower blood glucose and insulin levels and gets the body lipids, cholesterol in a healthy level. And there's another thing called fasting mimicking diet. This is 5 days of limited calorie diet once a month. And again, research shows amazing benefits after 3 months of doing that. So fasting for 5 days a month for 3 months can reset the immune system, lower the biological age by 2.5 years. It can kill the damaged cells like in cancer and autoimmune cells. It can lower the liver fat as well. Benefits of fasting mimicking diet is especially seen in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, irritable bowel disease like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, cancer, diabetes, as well as the weight loss. Again, this can be done. This should be done with a professional. There are some products that you can order for the 5 days and do the fasting mimicking diet, or you can design and create that fasting mimicking diet yourself as well. But always work with a professional to do that, because it's an extremely limited calorie diet and you need to make sure that you're getting the correct micronutrients like vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients and fiber into your system as well. So how can you get those benefits? As like, as the quick tips in the end. If you're fasting, if you're already fasting, maybe like, we're in Ramadan right now, reevaluate how you break your fast. Are you getting enough fiber? Are you getting enough protein and or fats? Are you incorporating all the recommended fermented foods or the dark bitter greens into your diet? If you're not fasting, you might start considering intermittent fasting if that fits your lifestyle or wellness goals, for weight and blood sugar management and blood lipids management. Make sure that if you're considering intermittent fasting, make sure that you're not starting right away. Get into a slow start process where you do not feel dizzy or you do not have any emotional issues after 4 hours of hunger. If you're feeling hunger benefit, if you're feeling the hunger symptoms or dizziness after 4 hours of non-eating, then you should be looking at what you have eaten previously and change your diet first for a week or 2, and then you can go back to intermittent fasting. If you have autoimmune conditions or cancer, 3-day fasting or fasting mimicking diet can be considered, but only with a professional, with an expert guidance. So keep following us for more tips and for more interesting issues on functional wellness and nutrition. With the Global HR Summit team, we are preparing amazing content every week, and we will be meeting with you at the Global HR Summit in Istanbul in June 5th and 6th. Until then, stay functionally well. Bye-bye.